y'all, welcome back to Ascending with Ash. Hey, this is a daily decolonizing, which I haven't really done in a long time, but we specifically need to talk about the indoctrination into nonviolence as a means to counter violence. It's a crock of bullshit. Okay, now this was a hard thing for me. I don't know, have I made one of these before? I know I've talked about this a little bit, but I think it's really important to... I was very much raised in a pacifist. I've always like, oh my god, peace and love, right? Like, that's been me forever. It wasn't until my master's program where this was a paper I wrote and I got the worst grade on it out of all of my papers for that program, and it was a B, and I was pissed because I almost had a 4.0. But anyway, I had to write this paper about violence, specifically decolonizing from violence or non-violence, and looking at how violence is a viable option when within civil rights movement, right? And not just civil rights, human rights, okay, all the rights, except the right wing. Ironic. Let me check and see if I've done this. Hold up. No, it doesn't look like it. Perf. Okay. I'm gonna have to make a thumbnail again, but that's not a big deal. Anyway, I haven't done a daily decolonizing in a few months. So, as we are witnessing the beginning of World War III, in my opinion, it's been here for a couple years. But in regards to what the history books will say, I feel like what just happened yesterday is going to be where it depends on who wins the war, but if the textbooks are written by these motherfuckers again, which I believe they're vampires. But anyway, I know I'm trailing off. I'm a little, I'm excited about... I don't know. I feel like humanity is reaching a point of accepting violence as a viable option against violence. And I want to pose a few questions in regards to critical thinking and decolonizing, and that's why I'm here. My question to you, if you have seen what has happened, if you have seen the babies with their heads blown off, if you've seen the fetuses with, bomb damage to them, if you have seen the mothers and children hanging from trees in Sudan, if you've seen the children in Congo who are having to mine their own land, if you've seen these women, if you've heard about the women who are, doing mass suicides to avoid being raped, if you have seen the family members of people who have been blown up or who have been having to be amputated, if you've seen any of that, if any of the footage, my question, my very real, legitimate question, this is not rhetorical, but my question to you is, do you truly believe that you can have a conversation with people who utilize that much violence? If you've seen the kidnappings here in the United States, if you've seen the way that women and children or mothers are being taken from their children, if you've seen the Google Map images of the prison camp that the brown folks who are being rounded up are being sent to in El Salvador with that big pool of blood, my question, do you truly believe that standing in the street with a piece of cardboard and some bubbles or flowers, chanting something, is going to bring about change? Or do you believe that this much violence needs to be met with also violence? I used to believe in my undergrad, when I was studying Africa, I used to believe that I could have a conversation with the most evil person in my field of reference at that point, which was Joseph Kony, the head of the Lord's Resistance Army in the Congo. And he and his militia would go from village to village and they would round up all the children and all of the parents, and they would separate them, and they would give their guns to the kids, and they would make the kids, their initiation into this militia would be to kill their own parents, and then they would adopt these children as child soldiers. I used to truly believe that I would be able to psychologically crack that person, Joseph Kony. I used to want to have a conversation with the most evil people. And then the universe was like, Ashley, we got you. And I got into some evil situations with evil people very close to me. And I realized the only thing that you can do is meet violence with violence at some point. But it wasn't until then that I had to experience it myself, that I finally understood why armed resistance is necessary, why resistance is necessary, why violence is a viable option for resistance, and more so than anything else. I don't turn the other cheek. I am not who I used to be, and I want to share that because I think a lot of people who have been indoctrinated into religion and into this system I know we've all been told to take the high road, to allow people to mistreat us, to, there's a thing called reactive abuse, and I think at this point in time the collective is going to be experiencing reactive abuse, and people are going to be popping off, whether it's within psychosis or retaliation or some sort of, I'm thinking of V for Vendetta. There's going to be more vigilance coming soon, and I want you to be aware of it, and I want you to be prepared for it. And don't find yourself in a situation where you cannot defend yourself because you think it's wrong or bad to do so. It's not. We're at this point where it's survival of the fittest. I highly recommend getting what you feel comfortable with in regards to self-defense. I recommend working out, training your body to be able to withstand physical environments of war, feeling like you're able to run, having your endurance up. Hey baby, I'll be with you soon. But anyway, I think it is a large thing to decolonize from, is this idea of nonviolence. That's why they being the powers that be, that's why they use religion. Because they want you to think that if you fight against your own oppression, that your God will send you to hell for eternity. Newsflash, this is the realm of hell. All of those examples I listed in the beginning, it doesn't really get worse than that, right? I mean, people are being set on fire, burned alive. They say that's what hell is. So, I think that violence is super necessary. I like fighting now. I used to hate it, but I think when we think about justice in the frame of nonviolence, no. So, there's a lot of comrades who have come before me who have said this and shared it, but a lot of people don't listen to voices if their skin tone is melanated or darker than theirs. And this is a very important thing for white folks to recognize and be aware of, is that violence is necessary. And I think that within this white supremacist society, right, a system of white supremacy, I think that when I wrote this paper, I had a hard time. I was like, okay, so why is it okay for cops to use violence, but we can't, right? Like, why is this statistic, people call on the hypocrisy of the state, whatever means it is, right? Police, whatever jurisdiction within policing, right? So ICE, all of that. And they call on the hypocrisy of like, oh, well, you want us to do this, but you're, carrying yourself and carrying this out. And so I just want to put this here. I think it's a really, really, it's good. We're in Civil War times. I knew you were going to go for those. Don't judge me. They were all out of the colorful popsicles, so I had to get Niall the red, white, and blue ones. That does not make us patriotic. I'm not even gonna show you. But anyway, I gotta go soon because I gotta put this back in the freezer. But I just wanted to make you aware that nonviolence is not the answer here. So for those of you liberals, if you are on my channel, which I'm not sure, you're probably going through a lot of ego deaths, or you hate me, and that's fine, I don't care. I used to be there. I used to be such a pacifist and believe in peace. I mean, I still believe in peace as a far off goal. Peace keeps me motivated, but you cannot meet violence with non-violence and expect to win. These motherfuckers have no red line. They have no morals. And so that's the thing. I mean, back in the day, I really did believe that I would be able to change Joseph Kony's mind if I got an opportunity. I was like, I would love to sit down with like the world's worst person and understand why they are the way that they are. But the truth of the matter is that some people just want power. Some people want violence. Some people are horrible people. And people are selfish and brainwashed. And they enjoy the power. And I think that's a harsh reality that we really need to accept. People are not going to change if they don't want to. And violence is easy. It's an easy way to get the means of which you're trying. So, decolonize from the idea that nonviolence is going to work. It is time to take up arms. This is a cocktail sword. It is time to take up arms. This is actually really sharp. I'm a blade girly. I like blades. But anyway, I also have, stepping into my Hunger Games era, I've got a bow and arrow. I need a bale of hay to practice. I don't have that yet. But all that to say is, I think I'm even going to start exercising my Second Amendment rights. But I'm not quite there, but I feel like it's important. So if you are someone who doesn't have any weaponry or hasn't trained or feels uncomfortable with that, highly recommend to start with what you're comfortable with in regards to self-defense. There's a lot of stuff that you can get that aren't necessarily guns. But violence is the answer when we're dealing with this unchecked, bloodthirsty, psychopathic fucking violence. And we should have been having these conversations the moment we saw the first child be taken out. And if we aren't going to do anything for the children, if we can't, arm ourselves and fight back against these systems for the sake of the children, for the sake of the planet, my honest opinion is that we don't deserve to be here either. So, decolonize from the idea that nonviolence is the right thing to do. There's a reason we were indoctrinated into that thinking. The state needs to be held accountable, and when I say state, I don't mean like, Alabama or, Montana. I mean the state as an apparatus of control. No matter where you are in the world, what country you live in, the police, the governing bodies, that is what I mean by the state. And until they stop being violent towards us, we need to pick up our own weapons and fight back. This is a call to arms, which is a great Angels and Airwaves song. Highly recommend listening to that. But we really need to decolonize away from the idea that nonviolence will save us. Also, while I'm going to mention it, I've said this before, but we need to also decolonize away from the emotional appeal to our oppressors. Assata Shakur said something along those lines of, I don't know the saying verbatim, but no government is going to grant you liberation because you are crying about how you feel about that's definitely not what she said, but that is what was the message entailed, essentially. And I got to a point when I was in LA, every time we would go to the police commission and Black Lives Matter would get behind that podium expecting some sort of sympathy from these fucking murderers. I got to that point where I'm just like, no, we cannot use emotional appeal when seeking justice, and we cannot use nonviolence either. I'm gonna say it again. It's time to follow the lead. I mean, we're without due process, without habeas corpus. It's essentially the purge. This is total anarchy, which is what they want, so that they can come down harder on us with oppressive tactics. So yeah, highly recommend training, getting ready to defend yourself, your family, your community, if you have the ability. I'm thinking about kickboxing. I'm thinking about Austin Powers, the Cheeto Chop. But yeah, start really decolonizing from the idea that nonviolence is the way to go. We should be pissed. We should be violent. We should be meeting them with the same defense. Yeah, you're gonna be labeled a whole lot of words, but I've already told you a million times, go watch V for Vendetta if you want to understand how the system or the state uses the word terrorism to instill fear and pacify the masses, and also like ostracize whoever is resisting oppression, resisting the violence. I've gotten to this point in my life where I'm like, I don't care what you call me, I don't care what you say about me, I know my truth, I know who I am, I know what I believe, I know where my heart lies, and I'm inviting all of you to get to that point within yourselves too. We're gonna need it, because if you have any sort of feelings about the things that you've seen and it's tugging on your heart, you are being asked to stand firm in resistance against this. You know what's right and wrong. You know what's right and wrong. Decolonize through that. Have a good one.